In an era of gigabit internet and processors that can perform billions of calculations per second, we are still held hostage by a small, pulsating rectangle on our screens. We call it the loading bar. To most of us, it is a moment of friction, a nuisance that stands between us and our digital desires. But what if I told you that during those 3 seconds you spent waiting for a level to load in Call of Duty or for a 4K video to buffer, a literal odyssey was occurring inside your machine? Behind that static image of a progress bar lies a frantic, invisible marathon where billions of individual packets of data are being sprinted across distances that, at their scale, are equivalent to traveling across continents. Today, we are going to peel back the plastic and silicon to witness the most complex logistical operation in human history, the journey from load to play, to understand why we wait. We first have to understand the fundamental conflict at the heart of computer architecture. The trade-off between memory and speed. Imagine you are a world-class researcher. You have a massive library with millions of books. This is your SSD or solid-state drive. It's vast, it's permanent, and everything stays exactly where you left it, even when the lights go out. However, the library is 3 miles away. On the other hand, you have your desk. This is your DRAM. Your desk is tiny, but it is right in front of you. You can reach anything on it in a fraction of a second. The CPU, the brain of your computer, is like that researcher. It is incredibly fast, but it has no hands to reach all the way to the library. It can only work with what is currently on the desk. This is the central drama of computing. Everything you want to do must first be hauled from the slow, massive warehouse of the SSD and placed onto the desk of the DRAM. The loading bar isn't a sign of your computer being slow. It is the sound of the moving trucks arriving. Let's put some numbers to this to give it emotional weight. In the world of electrons, time is measured in nanoseconds, billionths of a second. To a CPU, waiting for DRAM is like a human waiting a few minutes for a coffee. It's a bit of a delay, but manageable. However, waiting for an SSD is a different story. If DRAM access is a person walking across a room, SSD access is that same person walking across the entire United States. Think of it as a visual metaphor. DRAM is a supersonic jet, slicing through the air at Mach 3. The SSD, by comparison, is a tortoise crawling through garden soil. If the CPU tried to talk directly to the SSD for every single instruction, it would spend 99.9% of its life doing absolutely nothing but waiting. We use DRAM as a high-speed buffer to bridge this impossible gap. It is the middleman that keeps the brain from starving. Why don't we just make everything DRAM? Why do we even bother with slow SSDs? It comes down to the cruel laws of physics and economics. DRAM is volatile, meaning it's like a whiteboard. As soon as you wipe the power away, the information vanishes. It is also incredibly expensive and power-hungry. If your computer only used DRAM, your laptop battery would die in 20 minutes, and a 2-terabyte drive would cost as much as a luxury car. The SSD is our persistence. It holds our memories, our photos, and our OS through the dark of night when the power is off. The loading bar is a strategic compromise we make with the universe. We trade a few seconds of our time in exchange for the ability to store massive amounts of data permanently and affordably. Nowhere is this struggle more apparent than in modern video games. When you launch an open-world game, the computer is performing a Herculean feat. It is taking gigabytes of textures, character models, and sound files, the assets, and shoving them into the DRAM. Have you ever noticed stuttering while playing? That is often because the game is trying to move data into the DRAM faster than the bus can carry it, or because you've run out of desk space. When your RAM is full, the computer has to start swapping data back to the slow SSD, creating a bottleneck that destroys the illusion of the game world. This is why system requirements always highlight RAM. It determines the size of the stage the game can perform on. To truly appreciate this, we need to zoom in. We are about to embark on a journey that spans 3 distinct worlds. First, the macro world of the motherboard and the sticks of memory you can hold in your hand. Second, the architectural world of the silicon chip, where data is organized into rows and columns like a massive city. Finally, the quantum world of the memory cell, where information is nothing more than a handful of electrons trapped in a microscopic cage. Prepare yourself. We are leaving the world of human scales behind. Look at your motherboard. Those long, thin sticks are DIMMs, dual inline memory modules. They aren't just plugged in. They are part of a high-speed highway system. The wires connecting the CPU to the RAM, The memory channels are etched into the motherboard with surgical precision. They must be exactly the same length, down to the micrometer, because at these speeds, the speed of light is actually a bottleneck. If one wire is slightly longer, the signal arrives late, and the entire symphony of data falls out of sync. The memory controller is the conductor of this orchestra, shouting orders millions of times a second to ensure no electron is out of place. Inside one of those black rectangles on your RAM stick is a DRAM chip. It is not a messy pile of data. It is a masterpiece of organization. Imagine a city with billions of houses. To find a specific piece of data, the system uses an addressing scheme: bank groups, banks, rows, and columns. When the CPU needs a piece of info, it doesn't just ask for it. It sends a coordinate. It activates a bank, then opens a row. This is like opening a specific filing cabinet. Once the row is open, it can read any column, the specific folder, inside that row very quickly. This spatial organization is the only way we can manage billions of bits without getting lost in the noise. This isn't just a design. It's an industrial miracle. DRAM is manufactured in fabs, factories that cost $10 billion to build and are cleaner than any hospital on Earth. They use extreme ultraviolet light to print patterns on silicon wafers that are only a few atoms wide. We are currently operating at a scale so small that we are fighting the very nature of matter. If a single stray atom of dust lands on a wafer during production, it's like a mountain falling on a city. This level of precision is why only a handful of companies in the world can actually make DRAM. It is the pinnacle of human engineering, a feat of manufacturing at the edge of physics. At the very heart of this city is the memory cell. This is the smallest unit of human knowledge. It consists of just two things: a single transistor, the switch, and a single capacitor, the bucket. Think of the capacitor as a tiny hole in the ground. If the hole is filled with electrons, that's a 1. If it's empty, that's a 0. That's it. Every movie you've ever watched, every I love you sent over text, and every line of code ever written is eventually reduced to these tiny buckets being full or empty. But there is a catch. These buckets are leaky. Because they are so small, measured in nanometers, the electrons constantly tunnel out and escape. This is why DRAM is called dynamic. If we did nothing, every one in your computer would turn into a 0 within a fraction of a second, and your system would crash. To prevent this, the memory controller performs a refresh cycle. Every few milliseconds, it reads every single bucket and refills the ones that are leaking. Your computer is essentially a person desperately trying to keep thousands of leaky buckets full by running between them with a hose. Memory isn't a static thing. It is a constant, frantic act of maintenance. This is where the speed of your computer is actually decided. If the CPU asks for data that is already in an open row, it's called a row hit. It's instant. It's like having the book already open on your desk. But if it needs data from a different row, it has to close the current row, precharge, and open a new one, activate. This is a row miss. It takes time. Software engineers spend their entire lives trying to organize data so that the computer mostly experiences row hits. When your computer feels snappy, it's often because the code is localized and the memory controller is having a lucky day. To hide these delays, DRAM chips use banks. While one bank is busy closing a row, another bank can be opening one. It's like a grocery store with 12 checkout lanes. If one lane is stuck because of a price check, the others keep moving. This parallelism allows DRAM to provide a constant stream of data to the CPU, even though individual operations are subject to the laws of physical delay. Modern RAM is also smart. It uses something called a burst buffer. When you ask for 1 byte of data, the RAM assumes you'll probably want the next 7 bytes right after it, because data is usually stored in order. So it grabs a whole burst of data at once and flings it at the CPU. It is a system built on anticipation, predicting the future to save time in the present. As we push for Jitter 5 and beyond, we are running out of ways to make electricity move faster. So we are making the distances shorter. We use folded layouts and shorter word lines to reduce the time it takes for a signal to travel across the chip. In the world of high-performance computing, performance isn't just about electricity. It's about geometry. The closer we can put the bucket to the hose, the faster the computer becomes. When a memory cell opens, the charge that comes out is incredibly weak, barely a whisper of electricity. This is where the sense amplifier comes in. It is an ultra-sensitive electronic ear that listens for that tiny signal and amplifies it into a full strength. 1 or 0. It has to do this in an environment filled with electrical noise from other components. It is a miracle that we can hear the whisper of a few hundred electrons amidst the shouting of the rest of the motherboard. Now zoom all the way back out. You see the hierarchy. The CPU has its registers, its pockets, its cache, its hands, the DRAM, its desk, and the SSD, the warehouse. Every single thing you do on a computer involves a perfectly timed dance between these layers. If any one layer fails or slows down, the whole system collapses. This hierarchy is the most efficient way we have found to process the massive amounts of information that define the 21st century. What is the ultimate takeaway from this journey into the microscopic? It is that complexity is often just a billion simple things happening at once. A computer doesn't actually know what a video is or what a game is. It only knows how to move an electron into a bucket and check if it is still there. The magic of technology isn't in some mysterious force. It's in the relentless optimization of the simple. It's in the 50 years of engineering that went into making sure those leaky buckets stay full. It's a testament to human persistence, our refusal to accept the limitations of the physical world. In our own lives, we often face loading bars. We face periods of waiting, of preparation, and of shuttling data before we can achieve a goal. We tend to see these moments as wasted time. But as we've seen with DRAM, the loading is where the organization happens. The wait is what makes the execution possible. My advice to you is this: respect the process. Whether you are learning a new skill or building a career, you are in the loading phase. You are moving the necessary assets into your working memory. Don't get frustrated by the progress bar of your own life. Understand that behind the scenes, you are building the infrastructure for your own high-performance future. Relentless optimization and small, consistent refreshes of your knowledge are what prevent your dreams from leaking away. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive today. Wishing you all the very best of health and happiness. And if you found this journey as fascinating as I did, please consider hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the heart of technology.